Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
So Obama Biden couldn't be bothered to go to Palestine, Ohio to be with Americans during a time of devastation that their town has basically been destroyed, not only by a train derailment which leaked hundreds of thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals into their soil and into their water supply, but then, hey, there was this great idea, let's just set it all on fire, and we put a nuclear cloud over this town that will affect them and their health for generations to come. You can't even get Biden to acknowledge that it is a true disaster in need of the full resources of the U.S. government. Wouldn't do it. Not until he heard Trump was going to go make a visit. And now, actually, I guess he's going to release some money to Palestine. But he certainly didn't have time to go to that white trash county that voted for Trump. And he didn't. Instead, he went to Ukraine. And basically, in his big, tough speech, he has, quote, pledged to defend every inch of NATO ground. Well, number one, Ukraine is not in NATO. The whole reason there was an invasion into Ukraine is because Ukraine was being pushed by the United States to join NATO, and Russia doesn't want NATO tanks on their border. This was a proxy war we wanted with Russia, and we set it up. We made this happen on purpose. And Joe Biden has decided, that's it. We're all for this. This is part of this is payback for Hunter. But he's doing what his puppet masters tell him. And we are watching all of the pro-war, pro-military industrial complex. But there is a building momentum right now that I don't think the military industrial complex really realizes. The anti-war movement is no longer just, quote, a bunch of hippie radicals. There's a whole lot of people on the right who have had enough. And Donald Trump is sounding the call.
World War III has never been closer than it is right now. We need to clean house of all of the warmongers and America Last globalists and the deep state, the Pentagon, the State Department, and the national security industrial complex. One of the reasons I was the only president in generations who didn't start a war is that I was the only president who rejected the catastrophic advice of many of Washington's generals, bureaucrats, and the so-called diplomats who only know how to get us into conflict, but they don't know how to get us out. For decades, we've had the very same people, such as Victoria Nuland and many others just like her, obsessed with pushing Ukraine toward NATO, not to mention the State Department support for uprisings in Ukraine. These people have been seeking confrontation for a long time, much like the case in Iraq and other parts of the world, and now we're teetering on the brink of World War III. Take a look at the globalist warmonger donors backing our opponents. That's because they're candidates of war. I am the president who delivers peace, and it's peace through strength. We could end the Ukraine conflict in 24 hours with the right leadership. At the end of my next 4 years, the warmongers and frauds and failures of the senior ranks of our government will all be gone, and we will have a new group of competent national security officials who believe in defending America's vital interests above all else. Thank you very much.
I like Ron DeSantis. You know I like Ron DeSantis. I think he's done a great job as governor of Florida. And Sarah Palin actually gave him some pretty good advice. Ron, sit this one out. And what he needs to do is he needs to come out and make it clear he is sitting this one out. Because I'll tell you right now, Ron DeSantis will give in to the dictates of the military-industrial complex. He is ex-military. He will fuel more conflict with Ukraine rather than trying to bring a resolve to it. Like Ron DeSantis, but he's going to be very war hawkish. And Donald Trump was working very hard to get us out of these military entanglements. And some people forget that Nancy Pelosi actually wanted to bring legislation to the floor that would limit the commander-in-chief just being arbitrarily to decide to pull troops out of an area and be done. Because remember, Donald Trump wanted a troop drawdown. And General Miley Cyrus, or Miley Mills, or whatever his name, went to Congress and said, this is dangerous. Donald Trump is dangerous. Because he wanted to end war. See, the lying legacy media, the political establishment, the political elites, the military-industrial complex, they do not want Donald Trump anywhere near the Oval Office again. This is not about politics. This is about the real heart, soul, and identity of America. And this is where I want to encourage all of my progressive leftists, get on the Trump train. I am serious. Because one thing Donald Trump will do, he will draw down and stop these endless military entanglements around the world. We can unite on that. So, if the candidate, the nominee becomes Ron DeSantis, I promise you, Ron DeSantis will do nothing to slow any of this down. He's ex-military. New state. He'll just pour gas on the fire. Keep that in mind.